Hi, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi ta'ala wabarakatuh, and good evening everyone. Here we are again for the next session of Live at PTAR UITM. Hope everyone in a good of health and do stay tuned with us for this interesting topic. Today we are pleased to welcome Dr. Maisam Tabatabai, also known as Dr. Sam, our special guest from Faculty of Plantation and Agrotechnology, UITM Shah Alam. Dr. Maisam is an editor-in-chief of Biofuel Research Journal, an associate editor of Journal of Cleaner Production, Elsevier, United Nations Development Programme, UNDP collaborator, lead collaborator of the Lancet Countdown on Climate Change and Health, and author of more than 250 articles. How impressive. Okay, Doctor, today he will be sharing with us his expert opinion on climate change and global warming. I believe everyone has already heard about global warming and climate change, but how serious it is, I'm certain many people are wondering about the gravity of the situation. What say you, Doctor?
All right, first of all, I would like to thank you for the nice introduction, and I would like to say hi to all our viewers all around the world. It's been such an honor and pleasure to be with you here today, and I hope that this session is going to open some eyes about the serious impacts of climate change on health. So today I'm going to share with you the latest findings of the Lancet Countdown report in 2019, which has been conveyed all around the world through different channels and media outlets. So in response to your question, climate change is really serious, and it's not something that we can stop, but we can mitigate. So we can slow it down so that the global population can get themselves adapted to the growing concerns over increasing temperature and the consequences of climate change, which I'm going to brief you and our viewers all around the world in just a few minutes.
Okay, before we proceed to the next questions, we shall look on the Lancet Countdown video, animated video. So do stay with us.
Our response to climate change today will determine the world we live in tomorrow, and will shape the health of children across the globe at every stage of their lives. The Lancet Countdown, tracking progress on health and climate change, monitors our choices, demonstrating what action, or the failure to act, means for human health. There are many paths we can take, from a world of extremes and uncertainty, where a child has to fight simply to survive, to an environment that creates the conditions that allows them to thrive. If we continue down our current path, a child born today will live through a world that is over 4 degrees warmer, with a changing environment threatening the food they eat, the air they breathe, and the communities they grow up in. Air pollution, already dangerously high in more than 90% of cities, will worsen and further damage their hearts and lungs from the moment they take their first breath. As they grow, food insecurity will rise, with children among the worst affected by the malnutrition and stunting that comes from crop failure in a more volatile climate. Throughout their adult lives, they will experience more heat waves, stronger storms, the spread of infectious disease, and see climate change intensify mass migration, extreme poverty, and mental illness. But the future doesn't have to look this way. A global response that limits temperature rise to well below 2 degrees will transform the life of a child born today for the better. Children in the UK will see an end to coal by their 6th birthday, and the growth of solar and wind energy, resulting in cleaner air across the country. In France, the last petrol car will be sold by the time they turn 21, with cycleways and green spaces supporting safer and more livable cities. and they will celebrate their 31st birthday as the world finally reaches net zero emissions, securing a healthier future for coming generations. Which of these two pathways the world travels down will depend on the decisions of individuals, businesses, and governments. And only an ambitious response can ensure that the health of a child born today isn't defined by a changing climate. Visit the Lancet Countdown online to find the latest assessment of the state of health and climate change in your country.
A very informative video for those who did not aware of what is climate change. It shows that climate change is already damaging the health of the world's children and is set to shape the well-being of an entire generation. Doctor, would you please explain more about the research network who conducted this research?
Thank you so much for broadcasting the video. Well, there are around 35 institutions and universities and United Nations organizations working together all around the world to generate this report. Over 120 scientists from these institutions have been working together from different backgrounds, of course, to cover the very aspect of climate change, impacts of climate change on public health. And UITM has been a contributing institution to the 2019 report.
Okay.
So we have been working together to monitor the impacts of different indicators. I mean, we actually investigate the impact of climate change on health through monitoring different indicators, around 41 indicators, covering literally everything in our life. So in continuation to your previous question, I would like to add that climate change is actually jeopardizing the very foundations of good health. It's impacting the food we eat, it's impacting the air we breathe, it's impacting the clinics and the health system we depend on. So it's very important for everybody and each and every resident of the planet Earth to understand the gravity of the situation, stay hopeful, and be active and effective, trying to work together as the residents of the planet Earth to contribute to the mitigation of climate change, slowing down the process so that global population all around the world can get adopted and we can improve our technologies and means of further mitigating carbon emissions so that the future would be brighter for next generations.
Can you say that a broad research has been done and need a cooperation from others, is it?
The research is perfectly being done, but what we need at the moment, we need more public awareness. We need to generate public awareness. We need more education. We need more public will and political will to address these issues. So to make sure, that's the title of the report in 2019, that the life of a child born today will not be defined by the changing climate. So that's what we want to make sure is going to happen.
Okay, so meaning that awareness are needed.
Absolutely.
Right, okay, and now about the Lancet Countdown 2019 report.
Sure.
In your capacity as the co-author of the report, would you please provide us with the main findings of the research?
Absolutely. So in the report, we have tried to come up with 3 key messages. One of them is if the world decide to proceed the business as usual pathway. So the life of a child born today will be severely impacted by the climate change phenomenon. So how it is? First of all, food security is going to be jeopardized. Over the last 2 decades, the yield of major crops have declined substantially, around 2-3% to 5%, including soybean, including corn, wheat, etc. So this is one, and children, of course, are the most vulnerable to malnutrition. Another stage of their life, when they grow up, so they are going to be most impacted by disease. The second warmest, recorded year, suitable year for infectious disease such as those causing diarrhea, bacteria, was in 2018.
Okay.
So the number of days suitable for the causative agents of infectious disease and wound infection and diarrhea in general
keep increasing.
Absolutely. So this is another scenario which we don't want to see in the future. And we have been emitting too much carbon in the atmosphere.
Okay.
So that has caused global warming and greenhouse gas effect, as everybody should know, and global warming. So, and global warming has actually, these increasing temperatures have exposed more people, especially children and the elderly, people above 65 years of age, to heat waves. So heat waves exposure has increased substantially as well. So these heat waves have very serious consequences, health consequences, leading to increased prevalence of cardiovascular disease, kidney failure, etc. So if we don't stop the increasing temperatures, so a child born today, I mean in 2020, right? So because the report was 2019, so 2020, a child born today, let's say on exactly on today, and when he or she is going to be 7 years old, meaning by the end of the century, the world is going to be around 4 degrees warmer, which is going to change everything on planet Earth. So, and you know, the number of people dying from premature death, actually, they're passing because of premature death as a result of exposure to air pollution is increasing substantially as well. Every year, around 500,000 people die premature because of the particulate matter 2.5, we call it PM 2.5, micro. They die premature because of PM generated through coal combustion. So huge number of people dying silently every year, premature, because of air pollution. So this is the catastrophic part of the business as usual scenario. So this we don't want to happen, but there is hope. There is another pathway to take, another way to pursue, which is trying to stay committed to the Paris Agreement and make sure by 2050 the global temperature increase stays well below 2 degrees Celsius.
Yes, 2 degrees Celsius.
And to do that, all the countries should stay committed to the to the agenda, which they signed in during the Paris Agreement, discussion and conclusion sessions. So, but it's possible.
Okay.
And to achieve that, we believe that every and each resident of the planet Earth, around 7.5 billion people at the moment, should work together and should hold hand together and hopefully effectively trying to change the scenario around.
Okay. These are the seriously catastrophic day. So what would each and every one of us should do then?
That's very clear. First of all, everybody should get themselves educated about climate change, and especially about the impact of climate change on health. So we should know that climate change and climate change activism is nothing luxurious, is nothing fancy. It actually relates to the daily life of each and every one of us. So the health of our children, the health of children to come, and the health of our grandmother, grandfather, people older than 65 years old, which are very much vulnerable. So we should reduce our footprints, carbon footprints. We should try to avoid going for unnecessary shoppings, for example. For example, try to minimize your carbon footprint, try to minimize your plastic footprint, try to cycle further, try to reduce the energy that you use of fossil fuel orientation, and try to go toward more renewables, solar energy, wind energy, stuff like that.
Okay. So what about other roles UITM is set to play in this arena to ensure a more prosperous future for Malaysians and the other population in the Southeast Asian region?
Well, UITM holds great capacities. We got around 1 million around 800,000 alumni all around Malaysia. So literally speaking, around 2-3% of the Malaysian population have been UITM student once, and now they're alumni. And we have great number of students. So what we should do, in my opinion, very personal opinion, to create more climate change responsible curriculum. And we can contribute to the development of curriculum materials for different age groups. In my opinion, it's not just enough to educate, our university students. We have to start educating our kids at the kindergarten. So teachers, teachers and trainers should get educated as well. So to develop curriculum material, climate change responsible curriculum material, I think UITM holds great potentials to do that and contribute to the development of such material in collaboration with the Ministry of Education. And UITM and in general Malaysia can be a role model in the whole region to open the way for more climate change and health discussion, and we can offer solutions and strategies to address these issues nationally, regionally, and why not globally. So we have all the potentials, to play a very active role in the region and in the world.
Okay, so meaning that we need awareness, but how to educate them?
Well, as I said, we can start from the first thing that we should do. We should educate our kindergarten trainers and teachers, so they should know what exactly the next generation require to know. Then we can start, developing curriculum material for kindergarten, then for elementary school, high school, universities. And then for that, we need university professors and experts, educational experts, and we need experts from different backgrounds so they can contribute to the development of solutions and strategies. And UITM can play an active role here.
So we need to cater from the youngsters
Absolutely.
to the elders.
Absolutely.
Okay, Doctor, our last questions. Is there any advice or might be any suggestion or for us on prevention on the climate change and global warming?
Sure. The first thing is, please do not take what we have today for granted. The temperature has increased substantially. Let me give you one simple example. The amount of ice melted over the last 10 years, meaning 1 decade, equals the amount of ice melted over the preceding 100 years, meaning that 1 century preceding 100 years. That's huge. So if we move on like that, the business as usual, if we are not willing to change our lifestyle, if we are not willing to generate awareness, if we are not willing to educate ourselves, and there are many ways, many solutions out there for us to pursue. For example, we have to have a balanced diet. We shouldn't consume too much meat.
Okay.
More meat means more greenhouse gas emission and more global warming. We should try to have fewer cars. I mean, we should try to focus on public transport, and the governments should try to develop public transport very effectively and efficiently so people can enjoy using them. And we can cycle more, as I said. We can go for a more climate change responsible lifestyle. For example, do not go after fashion and try to change your belongings very frequently. So try to get the best out of whatever you have, either your phones, your laptops, your clothing, whatever you have. Try to use them to the highest level possible.
Minimize.
Yeah, minimize your footprint of any kind. So, and we have to know that the situation is really serious. If it goes warmer as it has been predicted, so the life is going to be very different. Agriculture is going to be severely impacted. Our health is going to be severely impacted. So the first step is to really know what we are dealing with. The second step is getting ourselves educated. The third step is acting, living our lives responsibly. So if we all do that, and then we can, express our demands from our politicians and governments to do accordingly, then we are going to have more prosperous nations during the decades to come.
So in 2020, we have to focus more on educate, awareness, and work together.
And developing solutions.
Yes. Okay, Doctor. Alhamdulillah. Thank you, Doctor, for sharing with us those interesting topic. I do hope that this will be materialized, at least for the sake of our children and the future awaiting them. Might be for our viewers, do you have any questions on this topic, please email us at corporate@uitm.edu.my. Once again, corporatepetar@uitm.edu.my.
Thank you for having me.
Okay, before we end the session, I would like to share our latest event. It's about the Library Information Professionals Lead Pro Seminar by Tun Abdul Razak UiTM Library, PITAR, entitled Innovative Information Management Towards a Reading Nation. This event will be held on 13 April to 15 April 2020, open to all professionals from library and information management fields to take part in the presentation of research papers or posters in accordance with the enclosed sub-themes. Participations from renowned speakers discussing related topics, as well as sharing ideas and their experiences, networking with professionals from related fields, and enriching your knowledge with the latest issues or topics in regards to library and information management. We look forward to your attendance and participation. Please disseminate the information and extend the invitation to interested colleagues as well. For more information, please log on to our website as seen on the poster. On behalf of PITAR, we would like to thank you, Doctor, for your time and effort for being here with us. We do really appreciate it. And to all the viewers, thank you for your time. Till we meet again on our next session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.